Good. So just my appreciations got interrupted there with my lack of technical knowledge there, but just want to thank you, David, for all the organizational effort you put into making this incredible conference happen. It's
Okay, cool.
not trivial, and people probably don't appreciate the work you did.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but it's been a great event so far. So,
Well, good. Let's have a good time and let's have a creative conversation here. Um, I'm happy if do you have can people input questions on chat?
yeah, yeah. Do you see the chat? Um, if you you have to look for the Zoom menu and then you might have to hit the More button and then pop up the chat.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Well, if anything comes up, you'll be here, I assume.
Uh, are you not
No.
finding it? It's
No.
probably at the top of the screen. It's the Zoom menu.
Oh, I see more up there. Okay.
Yeah.
Disable. There it is. Okay, I got it. So I welcome questions and interruptions at any point because that's where the real good stuff comes from. So I've got that up on my screen. If there's any questions you have or any comments or pushback or even arguments, I'm up for it today. So I'm feeling kind of gamey, so let me have it. All right. Excellent. So my appreciations, David. And now the question I have to start is, what stops you? The question, what stops you from making the amount of money that you want? What are the chains around your own treasure chest? If you've been at this long enough, you've already had the right tools, you've created them, you've tested them, you have a profitable strategy, you have an edge, you have all the right equipment, you have the right software, and yet you haven't reached the profit levels you want. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? Okay, so we can all agree that on some level, we're all in the same boat here. Each of us wants to improve our trading behaviors and address those issues so we can keep marching on the road to trading mastery. Now, since we're all traders here, I'm going to ask you to be brave enough to step up right now and take ownership of the behaviors that you want to change. After all, without acknowledging what we want to change, we'll never be able to create it. So we're going to play a game today, and it's the coin toss awareness game. If you haven't downloaded and printed out this board, it's no worries. You can just take a moment and draw 4 columns on a piece of paper with 10 rows, and it can be very simple. Or you can download and print it or view the work page here at mindmuscles.com/mind. But just keep it simple, piece of paper, 4 columns, and we'll get into the game in a little bit. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss a coin, and you're going to predict heads or tails. Can you predict a pattern to the results of the flip? Is it random? The game will be rigged in your favor. It'll pay $300 for every time you call it correctly and collect $200 for every time you get it wrong. Now, the question is there anybody who would not take this trade in real life? And you can enter into the chat box. Is there anybody here who would not take it, or would you take it? Would you take this bet with a fair flip of a coin where it pays $300, costs $200 for every correct and incorrect? So most of us who are rational says, I would for sure, says Peter. Well, yes, of course we would as traders. We have an edge. But I'll explain to you what the real value of this game is as we go along. Here is a very old photo of me looking at my option value sheet on the options floor of the PSC. I was just barely making a living as a trader when it happened. That is, the event that changed my life. It was April of 1995. I awoke in the middle of the night, and a voice, it was just as real as my voice is now, said, "Rich, you're only worth $200,000 a year." I sat up, I looked around, my wife was sleeping peacefully beside me, and there was nobody else in the bedroom. So I got up, showered, dressed, and drove across the Golden Gate Bridge to San Francisco and the floor of the Pacific Exchange. I sat on the concrete steps, and I thought about that voice. But to understand it, let me give you some backstory. I had left a very successful hedge fund to trade on my own. And the first year, without a lot of capital, PhD quants, operational support, just me, I made $125,000. The next year, 150, the next year, 175. And then I hit my limit of $200,000 for 2 years. That was until 1995. I was trading Micron options, and Micron was on an upward tear with exploding option volumes. There were only 4 market makers trading Micron regularly. The profits were just pouring in. I couldn't help but make money. By the middle of February, my account was at my limit, $200,000. In less than 2 months, I had made as much money as I normally made in a year. But then I lost some. I'd be up 4,000, down 3,000, up 2, down 5. But I wasn't breaking that 200,000 limit. When the doors of the exchange opened, because I got there so early, I went to the empty floor. I normally stood at the back of the pit, carefully taking small bites out of orders and making sure I didn't make any mistakes. Rich Friesen believed he didn't deserve more. But after hearing that voice, I realized I was done with the $200,000 limit. That voice no longer applied to me. I then stood in the best spot in the pit, right in front of the book staff and between the 2 major brokers. I would get the first crack at orders. In a trading pit, they're all gone now. It's all electronic, but you didn't own a spot. The best spots were taken by the most aggressive, the best capitalized, and sometimes just the meanest son of a bitch on the floor. The guy that always stood in the best spot looked at me when he came in, looked at the clock, tapped me on the shoulder as if to say, "Rich, time to move." And he did that as the bell went off. But I didn't move. We got into a pushing match, and the exchange officials warned us it would be a $10,000 fine if we got into a fight. And as the option series were called out, Rich Friesen went berserk. I'm going to take my headphones off so I don't blow your ears off here. But what I did is I went, "Buy 100, sell you 50, buy 20, sold, buy them." The pit thought I was crazy. I went on to make many times that $200,000 internal limit. And I used my capital to build a trading firm to hire my own traders. But here's what's interesting. With the same amount of advantages, the same amount of trading, 1/3 did great. About 1/3, well, they did okay. But 1/3 just couldn't make it. They'd make a little, lose a little, make a little, lose a little. And I started to wonder, did these traders have a similar mindset issue that I did? So it just so happened my sister Wendy was newly minted hypnotherapist from hypnotherapy school. And she came in, and under hypnosis, these traders uncovered the deeper issues that were keeping them from success. One of them was brought up in West Virginia, dirt poor family, lots of uncles and cousins, big families, lots of brothers and sisters. And under hypnotherapy, he discovered that if he made a lot of money, his family would reject him. And that was a big part of his upbringing. Another, his father was an immigrant and worked 2 jobs to put him through good schools. His father worked hard, just 12 hours, 14, 16 hours a day. And if the trader made that much money easily, it would be an indictment of his father, who he respected and loved. I know it's not rational, but this is what came up. Another had a handicapped brother, and his mom doted all her attention on his younger brother. And if he made a lot of money, he knew that his mother would come after him to help support the younger brother. And with all the years of resentment, he solved the problem easily. He just stopped making money. So what we can see here is that there's a lot of deeper drivers of what stops us when we're trading. Now, as each of you know, trading is all about money. And what I discovered was conflicts about money can impact our trading profits. I went on to document everything that I could do about psychology of trading, money, and wealth. And from this experience in working with traders and analyzing over 1,000 assessments, I wrote, oh, by the way, you can take this assessment. I'll give you the link later. I wrote a book, A Private Conversation with Money, and it's available in all formats at most book dealers. So you know what to do, but sometimes it feels so hard to break old habits that no longer serve you. You find yourself repeating costly trading behaviors over and over again. And the traditional advice for behavioral change is be more disciplined. The result is that we build a two-story nut house in our brain. And the top story is our conscious, rational, and analytic part of ourselves. Then the bottom story is our survival mechanisms, our impulses, our animal, our emotional part of ourselves. The goal of the top story is to subdue the bottom story. However, the bottom story is connected in our limbic brain, which is it contains our survival instincts. And the top story will lose the battle most of the time. In fact, without our emotional brain, we can't make decisions or discover patterns. Our conscious brain does not have the bandwidth to do that. So, how do we solve this? What do we do as traders? What we've been told all along doesn't work for most of us. Maybe, just maybe, what we have been told is not using the most effective mental model. Telling a trader to be more disciplined is like a track coach telling a sprinter to just run faster. In the book, The Hour Between Dog and Wolf, John Coates explains how traders trade from different brains. Traders experience brain chemistry changes with profits and losses that include steroid hormones such as testosterone, estrogen, and cortisol. And cortisol is the main hormone of stress response. Does this equity curve look familiar? You make consistent money, then lose a lot, or even blow the account in a short period of time. This is the equity curve. About 60% of the traders who start private coaching with me have a similar curve. We make it slowly and give it away. We wake up in the morning and say, oh, why did I do that? I will not do that again. And then all of a sudden we're over trading, we're canceling stops, we're taking our profits too soon, or if a series of losses happen, all of a sudden we go on tilt and give it all away. Cortisol takes over after a series of losses and impairing our ability to assess risk. When a trader experiences a series of losses or a loss of an account, their body responds by flooding with cortisol. As cortisol becomes released in such large quantities, it begins to alter the character of the stress response, causing the body and brain to hunker down for a long siege. As a result, we become panicky. We're too stressed to think clearly. Our attention jumps from one thing to the next and affects the trader's ability to make profitable trades. This prolonged exposure to cortisol then begins to wreak havoc on our cardiovascular and immune system, further impairing the ability to assess risk. The winter effect, on the other hand, creates a surge of testosterone in men. Now, guys, you're not going to like this, but women have an advantage over us here. When trading, our minds and bodies shift with turbocharge of steroid hormones. This includes your entire physiology, your metabolism, your mood, your cognitive performance, even your memories. Testosterone rises, increases in the hemoglobin, and this produces an increased appetite for risk. You can think of this as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When you have a series of profitable trades, testosterone increases, giving you more confidence and inviting risky behaviors. And as I mentioned, by the way, women produce only 10 to 20% of testosterone as men do. So they're actually less susceptible to the winter effect and the testosterone spiral. When I work with traders in private coaching, we work together to establish the level of change we need to improve a specific trading behavior. If you'll recall my own story about my worthiness, that was a change that was needed at the deepest level of my identity. Traders I hired needed option trading knowledge. They needed the skill to know how to buy and sell, the pit behaviors. They needed beliefs that they could be successful, and the identity of worthiness to know they deserve success. The funny thing is, no trader has ever come to me and stated the problem that they have is worthiness of success. However, as we repeat trading errors, this is often the driver. How does change occur that it creates consistent trading profits? At Mind Muscles, we start with the golden keys. First, awareness, then acceptance, then agency. And agency is asking for what we want now. So I'm going to take a pause here and ask if there's any questions so far about repeated trading behaviors, about the hormonal influences, and next we're going to actually experience our emotional impact on our trading through an exercise. But before we go there, let's see if there's any questions or comments. Okay. Well, if questions come up, just feel free to interrupt, and I'll try to check the comment column. Yeah, the comment is what you're talking about works in everyday life. Well, here's the wonderful thing about trading. As a therapist, when I work with somebody who is in a career, making career choices, making life choices, relationship choices, the result and impact of those choices sometimes can take years. But in trading, we get immediate, hard feedback on a daily basis. So yes, Vita, what you're talking about works in everyday life is a very astute comment, and thank you for that. Okay, any other questions or comments? So the game we're going to play is the coin toss awareness game. If you haven't downloaded and printed this game board out, it's no worries. You can just take a moment and draw this on a piece of paper. It can be really simple. Make 10 rows labeled 1 through 10 and 4 columns. The first column is heads or tails, H or T, won or lost, W or L. And we're going to look at the feeling or experiences, the intensity. So the intensity is going to run from -5, and -5 means, oh, I missed it. Oh, God darn it. Oh, well, how could I miss? Yeah, and just a horrible feeling. A +5 is, oh my God, I called it right. I'm super person. I'm the most incredible person in the world. And 0 is neutral. So you're going to go -5, -4, 3, or -2, 1, and then a +1, 2, 3, or 5, depending on the intensity. Now, what's important here is that you pay attention to your body. You pay attention to your breathing, your heart rate, your emotions. This isn't what you're supposed to feel. Oh, I'm a rational trader. I know I'm not supposed to feel anything. But I'll tell you, I feel, even I've done this game a dozen times, and I still feel a thrill when I call a heads or tails correctly. So this is what we're going to do. Now, the game is rigged in your favor. It pays $300 for every time you call it right and collects $200 for every time you call it wrong. So we've already asked, is there anyone who would not take this bet in real life with a fair trade of the flip of the coin? And all the answers were yes, we would take that. So what you're going to do is when we're ready, you're going to write down H or T in the first column. You're going to call it heads or tails, and also enter it into the chat so everyone knows what you bet. And then after we flip, you're going to mark a W or L, win for a loss, in the second column. And then we're going to notice a -5 to a +5 of your experience. And if you want to make a comment, that's great too. So heads or, and the comments can be anything about the feeling or how you experienced it in a little more detail. So we're going to do any questions or comments on how we play this game. Somebody's already entered an H. That's excellent. We're already there. Okay. So everyone enter your H or T. You can see what other people are entering, I imagine. I'm going to get out my coin. This is a 1959 half-dollar when they still made them out of silver. Okay, so mark H or T in the column, enter it into the chat box, and I'm going to flip the coin. You ready? Here we go. It's tails. So now what you're going to do is you're going to write whether you won or lost, and you're going to write down what was that experience. So just take a moment. How did that feel to win? How did it feel to lose? And I'll give you a moment to do that. Then we'll start going faster. Okay. You ready? sad face, Jackknife. Thank you in the comments. Okay, here we go. Row number 2, heads or tails. Enter it into the chat box. Okay, here we go, and enter it there. Whoa, I dropped the coin. I'll flip it again. It's heads. Everyone can see if you called it correctly or incorrectly. So enter your W or L. And how did that feel if you called it correctly? Jackknife called heads and he called it correctly. How did that feel? Patrick, tails. How did it feel to call it incorrectly? And the intensity, anywhere from -5 to 0 to +5. Okay, so that was number, I'm going to have to write these down so I remember which one we're on. So that was number 2. So now we're going to do number 3, and we're going to go faster. So just enter in heads or tails. You know what to do. You know how the game is played, and I'm going to move right along and not explain everything all the time. So number 3 is tails. I'll give you a moment to enter your stuff, and then enter your heads or tails in the chat box for number 4. Okay, here we go. Flip the coin. Tails. Okay. Enter heads or tails for number 5. And here we go. Flip. Heads again. Okay, now pay attention. You've got some wins or you've got some losses stacking up here, or you may be fairly neutral. So look at the wins and losses. How does that feel? Is it getting more intense? Is it a -5? Are you winning? Is it a +5 or somewhere in between? Okay, let's do number 6. Number 6 is heads. Okay, we're over half done. Wins or loss. Enter the intensity. And a comment if it's appropriate about how it felt. Okay, number 7. Tails. Were you right? Are you wrong? Is there a pattern forming of the coin? How did it feel? -5 to +5. Okay, number 8. Tails again. How did that feel? Did you get it right? Did you get it wrong? Are you switching back and forth? Are you chasing the last one? Okay, 2 more to go. Number 9. Okay, Patrick, you're winning. All caps, exclamation point. Okay. Here we go. Number 9. Whoa, dropped it again. Let me do it again. Tails again. Okay. Win or loss, and how do you feel about it? How are you feeling as you accumulate wins or losses? Okay, last one, number 10. Enter your heads or tails in the chat box. And here we go. Heads. Okay. Now, we're going to end up with something like this. You're going to have your heads or tails, the ones are lost, and you're going to have the intensity of the experience. So what we're going to do is we're going to add up the wins and loss, and you have to do this in your head or on a piece of paper. Give yourself $300 for every W and subtract $200 for every L. And I'll give you a moment to do this. And when you get that done, what we're going to do is turn all the numbers in the feeling column to a positive. So -5 becomes a +5, -3 becomes a +3. And we're going to add up the total of the positive numbers. And I'll give you a moment to do it. Jackknife got +400. Okay. When you're done, just put the amount that you made or lost in the chat box and the total intensity score. Remember, there's no negative numbers here. You're just going to add up all the positive numbers. So what is the intensity score? For example, this one here on the screen is +41. Break even and a +14. Thank you. 1,000 and +32. Thank you. 1,500 and +26. What do you do with intensity? That's a great question. We're going to do that in just a minute. Break even in 25. 1,800 +17. 26 intensity. Thank you. -1,200. Okay. So I'll let you finish up as I continue here. So here we have, I'm going to make three categories here artificially. 30 to 50 means you are highly charged. In a highly charged pattern, every win or loss really matters. We get a painful reaction with each loss and a feel great with each win. In a moderately charged pattern, we have our wins and losses mostly between the 3s and 2s, and there will be some intensity, but not as much as the highly charged pattern. If you totaled your score of this, it'll be between 15 and 30. In the low charge results, this pattern shows a low reaction to most wins and losses. It could be that you just don't care about the game. After all, nothing's really at stake because I'm really not going to send you money or send you a bill. Or it could be that, as in trading, you perceive trading as a statistical game and you're not concerned about the outcome of a specific trade. In this low charge response, your score is probably under 15. Okay, questions or comments about this before we talk about why this is important? Okay. As an aside, one of the brain limitations that we're born with is our brain does not think in probabilities. The probabilities is a learned skill. Our mission is to move from emotional reaction to winning or losing to probabilistic thinking and trading with an edge. If a client tells me, for example, that he thinks the market's going to do XYZ tomorrow, this locks his brain into a fixed outcome. I immediately ask for a rephrase. I'll give it 80% chance of XYZ. Why? This frees our brain to see all possibilities as they unfold. What is the value of a coin flip that pays 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 as we just did? Or let's say 2 to 1 for easier mental calculations. If you bet $100 and you make 200 and lose 100, net of that means that 2 coin flips with average probability, that means you'll make 200, you'll lose 200. So that means for 2 coin flips, it's the net positive 100, or divided by 2 because of the 2 flips. That means you made $50 is the expectancy for each flip. So this is why we move from outcome to process. I'm going to say something that's going to upset some of you. About half of the traders who come to me for private coaching or online courses say, my goal is to make $500 a day or $1,000 a day or $5,000 a day. They have a fixed amount every day. This is outcome-based trading. And what does it do? It sets you up for failure. And then all the neurochemicals that we talked about come rushing in, and your brain actually shifts and changes. You're going to make it back. You push trades that shouldn't happen. You feel like a failure. This is outcome-based trading. So what we do at Mind Muscles, we change this to process-based trading. And what we do is we define a lucrative trade and a lousy trade. And a lucrative trade is one where you got enough sleep, you did all your pre-work, you entered the trade in a market that is suitable for you, you entered it exactly as required without hesitancy, you put in a stop, you either got stopped out or it went to target. It doesn't matter if it made money or lost money, that is a lucrative trade. So rather than having a profit outcome, what we do is we have a process outcome, and the process is trading lucratively. So in a coin flip, for example, we know what the expected outcome is on a profit for every lucrative trade that we make. So in this example here on the screen, this trader, if he looked at his lucrative trades, they were $11,873. His lousy trades where he traded off system or wasn't prepared are minus 12,371. Oh my God. If he just made lucrative trades, he would be immediately profitable. But something happens. And what happens is our mind shift, our mindset makes a shift. So comments or questions? Let's see. I noticed I got more sensitive to both wins and losses after a few rounds, but then it stabilized. Slightly more sensitive to losses than wins. Danny, that is a great observation and self-awareness. Well done. So this is just a friggin' coin flip. It's random. Why do we care? I don't know, but I care. If I say I'm going to call it heads and I flip it and it's heads, I get a small rush. Even me, I get a rush calling a random flip of the coin. It's the way our brains are built. But imagine if we're making trades on our system and we make a win. For guys, that testosterone rush is pretty powerful and it changes our brain. Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, at the Mind Muscles model, we create new trading behaviors that serve us better. And this starts with awareness. And that is what the goal of this exercise is all about. Simply creating an awareness of any gaps between what behavior we know what works best and how we actually operate as traders in the heat of the moment. In a recent study of professional traders in London, it shows that increased physical awareness is correlated with trading success and career and longevity. So what we do is a lot of exercises around physical awareness. In fact, I'll do that right now. I notice that my voice is a little tight and talking fast. My breath is tight. I'm really excited about this webinar and the information I'm giving. Oh, what would happen if I just slowed down? I'm aware. My shoulders, I let them relax. My gosh, do you notice how my voice has changed? This is with just physical awareness. So one thing you can do as traders is set an alarm for every 10 minutes. When it goes off, do what I just did right now. And that is take an awareness from your nose to your toes, your chest, your breathing, your heart rate, your stomach, your thighs and legs, and just notice what's going on. My God, I just made a big change just with that awareness. Wonderful. So the next thing is to accept. I didn't say, Rich, you're too tense. You're giving this webinar and your voice is too tight and you're talking too fast. Well, no. I said, oh, that's interesting. What can I do to stay in the space that feels so much better for me? So we have awareness, we have acceptance, and then we have agency. You notice that I was able to shift my physiology because I have a higher level agent that is now able to decide, what do I want now? What feels better in the moment? Our Compass course includes our market metrics application, so you can see immediately where the biggest P&L improvement or the biggest change in your behaviors will make the biggest P&L improvement. In private coaching, I monitor the Mind Metrics app so that I can create exercises for each of my clients that brings them the behaviors that serves them better. And on the Compass course, by the way, if you use the coupon code there, Compass 3 minus 100 or dash 100, you can get $100 off of the Compass course, which makes it a really good deal. One of the things that, since we talked about how brain chemistry changes our brain and we're trading from a different platform, because our brain is literally shifted. One of the things that is most effective is when I'm doing personal coach, excuse me. When I'm doing private coaching, I will trade with the client. What this does is their agency, their brain connects with me at a higher level and doesn't drop down to the neurological lower level of survival. So this is one of the things that I find makes the biggest difference, because left alone, we repeat all the neurological, the neurochemical, and the previous habitual behaviors. Private coaching is $5,900 for 10 sessions, but I'm adding a bonus of 5 additional sessions, which includes this trading with you. So if you want to talk about it, no obligation, you can set a time to have a conversation with me. And that is at rich.ycb.me. So you can go there, you can see my calendar, you can make an appointment for 30 minutes, and we can talk about what would be the best situation for you. How can we make your trading dreams come true? So, time for questions and comments. And again, so appreciative of David of setting this up and giving me the time to talk to you. So I like the process at trading. Relationship with money. It is not important to in the live, but it is important. What improvement can I work on? Okay, so I'm not sure of the question, and I would need a conversation, but let me give you a couple of examples. And one example of one of the traders that I hired, his father worked so hard for the money, and he made money so easily. It was a repudiation of his dad's hard work. So what we need to realize, let me rephrase that. What I invite you to realize is the value you are bringing to the marketplace. And everyone says, well, the obvious one is price discovery. Without market makers, prices would go all over the place. And the second one is liquidity. And those are both true, but I'd like to offer a third value that you bring to the market, and the money that you make is delivering. You do that by delivering value. So let's say you go to the market and you buy 10 contracts, and what you do is in those 10 contracts, you move the market a bit higher, just a teeny bit. But the market then says, oh, you moved the market towards value in that moment. Here's some money. Thank you for the positive information. If, on the other hand, you sold the contract and it went up, the market says, well, you gave us bad information. You moved the market away from value, so that's okay. We're just going to take some money from your account. So the money you make is valuable. And I wrote a whole book, A Private Conversation with Money, just around these issues. It was written for everybody, but it's especially valuable for traders. We have a guided visualization that a couple of them. One is I forget the name of it, but it puts you in historic context of all the traders in history and how you are part of just an important line of traders and market makers who make the world a better place through the value that you add. So any other questions or comments? We have 15 minutes left. Happy to finish up and give everybody a time to go to the bathroom and all that. But there's just so much. If you don't have the financial resources, go to mindmusclesfortraders.com. You can see it on there, and go to the blogs and the interviews. Almost everything that I talk about is available there, and it's just free and it's available. And you can also go to our different product pages. And again, if you go to the coupon page, I didn't put it down here, but you can then get the Compass course for $100 off, and apparently I can't find that right now, but we will add that to the comments. Oh, there it is. Coupon code is Compass 3 minus 100. So write that down in case that's of interest. And I'm just happy to talk to anybody at all, because I just love to see traders blossom. Peter asks, what is the Compass course? It's a course that takes you through all the major impediments and blocks that traders have. And it has exercises to do so that you're not just reading about something, you're actually exercising each new mind muscle so that you can build the muscles so that in the heat of the moment, you are reacting with muscle memory and creating behaviors that serve you better. And David just put the Compass 3 minus dash 100 Compass discount code in the chat window so you can copy and paste it. So any other questions or comments? We're really here to open your treasure chest, to unlock it, because our brains are not made for trading. They were developed on the savannas of Africa, or there's some new theories about where the humans evolved from. But anyway, they evolved in a very primitive nature, and they're exactly the opposite of what we need as traders. So with that, again, thank you, David, for all the work you've done for putting this together. And I will leave some space for the next guy. And you do well. Feel free to contact me, rich@mindmuscles.com, and I will answer any additional questions, or you can go and set up an appointment that's in the chat, and I'll put that in here. Yes, :// rich.youcanbook.me. That's in the chat. So if you want to set a time to talk and see how I can best support you, let me know. So thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your comments, your participation. And I wish you all well and have a great week.